It was always a mystery to me. I mean, I didn't know anything. I mean, I didn't even think that my grandmother was married or my mum had, like, a stable dad in her life. So this is like...
I think that he can't have been on the scene, but what happened to him, I don't know.
So that's my granddad, eh?
Yeah.
What did you get up to, mister?
Yes, I
really?
know. And I think this lady is Ira, and I think that might be Dolly's sister because she had a sister called Ira.
Her sister?
Her sister, I think.
I never knew that Dolly even had a sister.
No.
She would have been my great-aunt.
Yes.
Yeah. I wonder what happened to her. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Dolly, come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on.
Media personality Sharon Osbourne divides her time between her homes in Los Angeles, where she lives with her husband, rock star Ozzy Osbourne,
Ozzy, Sharon over here.
and England, the country she was born in.
This is me and my mother at our home in Brixton. I lived in Brixton for the first, I think, 10 or 11 years of my life. My mother was a dancer. My father was an agent in the music business, very ambitious. He became a manager, and then he opened a record label. He was like a workaholic. I had a very interesting childhood. My brother and I just had a lot of freedom. I used to run wild. We didn't have that sort of structure where, you know, mummy takes you to school and mummy's there waiting for you and you come home and you have something nice to eat and then you do your homework and a nice little bath and bed. It wasn't that way.
After she left school, Sharon joined her father in the music business.
I think I'm hardworking and I got that work ethic from my parents, definitely. You know, if you ever wanted anything, you had to work for it.
Sharon knows about her father's roots in Manchester's Jewish community, but very little about her mother's side of the family.
My whole life, I just thought they're all Irish, but I don't know if that's really true. The little bits I do know, my grandmother was called Doris, and she was known as Dolly. She was a choreographer dancer and worked a lot in vaudeville. As a child, Dolly frightened me. She had white hair and she would put a lot of red lipstick around her mouth and it would always be on her false teeth. I always thought she looked like a witch. I had no idea of my grandfather's name. Just don't know it. There weren't any pictures and she would never speak of him. It's very exciting to kind of find out how it all started. What am I connected to? You know, what are my roots? You know, probably I came from a load of old witches that were burnt at the stake or something. That would be fabulous. I just don't know. I'm waiting for my niece, Gina, to arrive. I think she'll be able to help fill in all the gaps that we have. She knows a lot more than I do. Hello! So good to see you. Come on.
Sharon's niece, Gina, has always taken an interest in the family history, and she's brought along some memorabilia.
Do you know who that is?
Mm-mm.
That's your mother, Hope.
That's Hope?
Yes.
Oh, my Lord. Wow, what year would this have been?
I don't know. Oh, it says on the back. There you go.
Southampton.
1935.
Oh, my Lord.
And look at the name of the song or the act.
Come over
Come
here.
over here. It's quite a sultry picture as well, isn't it?
I definitely got her legs.
Me too.
Didn't I? Gee. Thanks a lot, Hope.
And this one.
Yeah.
So this is Dolly, your grandmother, your mother's mother.
And who is that?
I think that is Dolly's husband, Arthur James Shaw, your grandfather.
Wow. There he is. It was always a mystery to me. I mean, I didn't know anything. I mean, I didn't even think that my grandmother was married or my mum had, like, a stable dad in her life. So this is like...
I think that he can't have been on the scene, but what happened to him, I don't know.
So that's my granddad, eh?
Yeah.
What did you get up to, mister?
Yes, I
really?
know. And I think this lady is Ira, and I think that might be Dolly's sister because she had a sister called Ira.
Her sister?
Her sister, I think.
I never knew that Dolly even had a sister.
No.
She would have been my great aunt.
Yes.
Yeah. I wonder what happened to her. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
And they were called Hewson.
Hewson, the Hewson Trio.
I never heard the name,
No,
Hewson.
it's not catchy, is it? And if you look here, this is the stage newspaper from March 1912, and it lists the renowned Hewson Trio. An act that is always working.
Oh, wow.
And they seem to repeat the lines a lot, which is quite funny.
Hewson's Trio, the greatest novelty, vocal and dance acts in vaudeville. I wonder what the novelty was to the act.
Yes. It looks like it's a bit of a comedy turn, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Like he's being very naughty because they're shaking their finger at him.
Yes, they're telling him off, aren't they?
Yeah.
They were going to be performing in Darwin, Salford and Durham. Must have been a hard life, I think.
Fun, but no sense of home. No sense of home, no sense of family.
No, because you're always on the move.
Listen, you saw with my mum and dad coming, going.
Yeah.
There's no sense of
security. And then this is their marriage certificate. Arthur James Shaw, so your grandfather, and Doris Armgill, Dolly, your grandmother. They're both listed as musical artistes.
What dates?
They married in 1915, and the First World War had started the year before, so that could explain why he wasn't on the scene.
He might have been killed in the war.
Yeah, he could have been. He could have been.
Did you go into the war? What happened to you, mister? Right?
Yeah.
So I never even knew that my grandmother had a sister. And this is the first time I've ever seen a picture of my grandfather, Arthur James Shaw. They look like a very sassy trio to me. It's nice because it goes to prove that my suspicions are all wrong. And, you know, I go right to the edge. It's like, right, she was never married, you know, and here she is with her husband, my grandfather. But I'd still like to know what actually happened to him and why nobody ever spoke of him.
Sharon's grandmother, Dolly, performed in a music hall act with her sister, Ira, Sharon's great aunt, as well as with the man she married in 1915, Sharon's grandfather, Arthur James Shaw, who went by the name of James. To see if James was called up as a soldier, Sharon is checking the British Army's service records.
Here we go. He was in the Royal Artillery. Ah, what is this? So this is his enlistment papers. Mr. James Shaw, and his number was 112235. Are you a British subject? Yes. What is your age? 27 and 2 months. What is your trade of calling? Music hall artist. Are you married? Yes. Rank? Driver. He had very nice handwriting. Oh, my lord, he was very short. Height, 5'5.5". So he'd signed up before he got... Hold on. So he signed up the year he got married, or before he got married. No, after, because they got married in July 1915. And he signed up in October. So really they weren't to get along, for he absolutely went to war. Particulars as to children, so he had hope. My mother, and it gives the date of birth, 12th of April, 1916. The military history sheet. So 1 month before my mother was born, he was sent across to the Mediterranean. Ended up in Egypt. He returned home in 1919. So he was gone 3 years. That's a long time. But he survived it. He came home. It must have been tough for my grandmother. I mean, he's offered some godforsaken place in the middle of a war. Must have been very hard. Just to get by every week.
Sharon wants to know how her grandmother, Dolly, coped, left to look after her newborn baby, Sharon's mother, Hope.
I'm so interested to join up all the dots. I wonder what happened to Grandma. I just instinctively feel that she must have kept working. That was the only way she could have survived.
By the time of the First World War, music hall had become known as variety theatre, a programme of acts featuring singers, acrobats, jugglers and dancers. It was the most popular form of entertainment at the time, and elegant new theatres sprung up across Britain. Sharon has come to one of the handful of venues still preserved from that period in Tunbridge Wells. It's been converted into a pub. She's meeting historian Dr. Caroline Radcliffe.
Hi, Caroline.
Hi, Sharon.
How are you?
Lovely to meet you.
What a wonderful place we're in.
Well, we're standing on the stage of the Tunbridge Wells Opera House, and it's not the sort of opera house you think of as performing grand opera. It was built more as a variety theatre at the beginning of the last century. And just over 100 years ago, at Christmas in 1917, your grandmother and her sister were performing on this stage.
Wow, unbelievable.
And I'll tell you a bit more about it if we go up to the dress circle.
Come on, let's go.
So when your grandfather went off to the Great War, Dolly and Ira, her sister, were left behind. So the Hewson Trio couldn't function anymore. So they went and joined the Phil Ascot Four. It was Phil who ran the group, and then the three women. So Ira,
Doris, Dolly.
and one other woman. So we've managed to find a programme from Christmas Eve 1917.
The Phil Ascot Four, the famous novelty dancers introducing the English pony trot.
Because the pony trot, it was a novelty dance, and it was really modern at the time. And I think this is an amazing photo of your grandmother and her sister.
There's Dolly with the girls. Wow. It's wild. It is.
Now, amazingly, we've managed to find a little bit of film that it doesn't show your grandmother, unfortunately, but it shows a troupe of dancers doing the pony trot. So you get an idea of the
what
kind
it
of
was like.
liveliness and energy that went into it.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I'm loving it. I absolutely love it. Wow. They must have been knackered after this. That's like wild for those times.
Animal dances like the pony trot were all the rage at the start of the 20th century. And there were many of them, including the grizzly bear, bunny hug, and even the turkey trot. And it wasn't just the ballroom dancing purists they offended.
These sorts of very modern novelty dances, they were accused of being a little bit edgy,
Yeah.
a little bit risque. And the Pope, in particular, condemned the turkey trot. So I don't know what he would have thought about the pony trot.
I'm sure he wouldn't have liked it.
I think they must have really added to that, you know, escapism from worrying about the war and everything that was happening. It was exciting and it was what all the young people wanted to be watching.
It's just amazing.
So they must have been doing this all through the war. Your grandmother had a daughter by this time.
Hope, my mother.
So she had to look after the baby.
Yeah.
They couldn't stop working.
Do you know how old they were? What the difference was between Dolly and her sister Ira?
Yeah. Ira would have been 17 and Dolly was 25 or 26. So Dolly was obviously the one who took charge when they were travelling and sort of chaperoned her younger sister. And they were living together as well. They were all registered at the same address.
So they must have been so close.
So this is the last thing that I've got to show you, and this concerns Ira.
Death certificate. Oh, she died on the 9th of November, 1918. Wow. She was 18. Oh my God. Tuberculosis. And it said here that she was 2 years into it.
So she was clearly ill all the time she was performing. Theatres were a place where illnesses did get spread.
Yeah, all put together in dressing rooms and, oh my Lord. She must have suffered so much. My grandmother was present at her sister's death, Acre Lane in Brixton. That must have been absolutely awful to be there and see like an 18-year-old die. How terribly, terribly sad. In the back of my mind, I suppose I was fearing that for her because there was never any mention of her ever. Terrible.
At the time Ira died, tuberculosis was one of the deadliest diseases in the world. Highly contagious and spread through the air, it had killed hundreds of millions of people. Just 3 years after Ira's death, in 1921, a vaccine was introduced and given to children, which would help curb the spread of the disease.
I knew my grandmother, not well, because I was too young to know her well, but I have a whole new respect for her as a woman and what she did for those years on the road and, you know, dealing with her sister's death and the birth of my mother. And it's like, I don't know how she did it all. You know, her husband was away in Egypt. This woman was a hard worker, a very, very strong woman. I don't know how she went on after she lost her sister. And even though she's gone years and years ago, it's still, it matters to me, the way I thought of her and my impressions of her from a child to now were totally wrong.
After the First World War, Dolly was reunited with her husband, Sharon's grandfather, James Shaw. James returned home to live with his wife and their daughter Hope, Sharon's mother, at 29 Acre Lane in Brixton, South London. Sharon's trying to find the house she remembers seeing as a child.
Not where Tesco's is. Oh, you're joking. That is so depressing. Oh, what a shame.
Sharon's grandmother's house at Acre Lane and the buildings next door were demolished in the 1970s.
We used to come up and down here all the time, and whenever we were on the bus, because we went everywhere by bus, my mum would always point out the house, you know. It was a big house like that. Nothing stays the same, though, does it?
While they were in Acre Lane, Dolly and James had a son, Sharon's uncle, who was born in 1920. Sharon is meeting social historian Dr. Kate Bradley to find out about her family's life in Brixton.
Sharon, I have got some documents to show you. I'd like to start with a photograph.
Wow. My grandmother, my mother, and my uncle. It's actually one of the nicest pictures I've seen of my grandmother, where she looks quite soft, and I love the way that my mother is holding on to her mother.
It's a very warm photograph.
It is. My mum looks very sweet in there,
Yeah.
too. Wow.
So this is an extract from one of the South London newspapers.
What year was this?
This is 1929.
A Brixton incident. Mother and daughter charged. Child takes the blame. Oh, my Lord. Mabel Shaw, 35, a variety artist of Acre Lane, Brixton. But who is this?
This is your grandmother.
Mabel.
Doris. Yes. She seems to be calling herself Mabel here. Whether it was a name she came up with when she'd been arrested, or whether she was using a slightly different name at that time.
Probably because she was arrested. Yeah. Doris, Dolly, Mabel.
However, your mother's name, Hope,
Yes.
is correct.
Mabel Shaw, 35, and Hope Shaw, 12, were charged before Mr. Harold McKenna at Lambeth Police Court, being concerned together in stealing 2 pairs of stockings and other articles valued at 8 shillings and 4 pence. They pleaded guilty. Unbelievable. Wow. Must have been pretty desperate to do that. When they were stopped, the girl exclaimed, "I will take all the blame if you will let Mummy go." Oh, my God. That is just heartbreaking. A detective officer said Mrs. Shaw was separated from her husband and had an aged mother to support. She was a variety artist but had been out of employment on and off for 5 or 6 months.
Talking here about being out of work.
And separated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to have 2 kids, a husband gone, it must have been really hard.
Yeah.
At the time that Sharon's grandmother and mother were caught stealing in 1929, they were no longer living with James Shaw, Sharon's grandfather.
Oh, it's like I feel a pain in my heart, you know, looking at my mum's little face in this photo. She's just such a sweet, innocent little thing holding on to her mum really tight, and she must have had one hell of a childhood with no father. Her mother was working, so growing up and not having the comfort of your parents. My heart really does break for her, and it gives me a sense of why she was the way she was.
After they were arrested, Dolly and Hope were taken to the police court in Lambeth. Today, the court has become a Buddhist and meditation centre, but much of the original building has been preserved.
Oh my Lord, they've still got the original doors too.
Yeah.
Wow.
There are a couple of things I'd like to show you if we go inside this cell here.
Okay.
The first thing I'd like to show you is the jailer's index. This is for December 1929. This kind of is the list of the people who'd come through the cells on their way to kind of going to court. And down here, we find Mabel, or Dolly, and Hope.
Mabel's 35, Hope is 13, and they were arrested on the 12th of December, and it was for stealing stockings, etc. I wonder if they were stealing for Christmas gifts. I don't know.
Quite possibly.
Yeah. Would they have been brought in here?
Yes.
Were they kept overnight, do you know?
I don't know for sure. I think it's quite likely because we do know that they saw the magistrate on a Monday and we know they were arrested on a Saturday. And the fact that they're on this suggests that they were here from Saturday night through to Monday morning.
You'd just be traumatised, wouldn't you? Stuck in here as a little kid.
Yeah.
And what is this?
This is the 1939 register. This is going forward about 10 years, which is similar to a census of everybody in the country shortly after the outbreak of the Second World War. And it was used to gather information on the population for things like generating ID cards and ration books. And we can find Doris here. She's here.
Oh, she was back to Doris now.
Back to Doris. And here she is. And if we read along, she's a petrol can filler.
That was her job?
Yes.
During the war?
Yeah.
OK.
And a designated heavy worker.
What does heavy worker mean?
It meant that she was doing heavy industrial work.
OK.
And she would have got more rations as well.
Really?
For doing the manual work. Yeah.
So we find out 10 years later, my grandmother is working in the war effort, filling petrol cans, and it says W.
Yeah.
So
She's given her marital status here as a W, which would mean widow.
widow, yes.
It is possible that she was indeed widowed. It's also possible that she was trying to keep up appearances. Easier to say that you're a widow than to say you're separated or divorced,
Right.
particularly at this time.
Yeah.
This is where your grandfather falls off the record. We've not been able to find a death certificate or find him on the 1939 register. So it's quite possible he was using a different name.
The thing is about my grandfather, don't know where he went or where he was from initially. I don't know anything about his background at all. And I put it in the add James, add family members. Yeah.
Sharon is keen to know more about her grandfather's past, so she's searching the census online.
This is a census from 1891, and I'm trying to trace Arthur James Shaw, who was my grandfather. I'm trying to trace his family to see where he actually came from, because this man is like a ghost. Okay, it says Arthur Shaw here, head of family. Annie, his wife. So my great-grandmother and father. And then there's 3 sons, Thomas, John, and Arthur James, my grandfather. Okay, so he was son of Arthur. And where is he from? Hold on. Is that Lancashire? And his mum, Annie, came from... This is really, really hard to make out. To me, it looks like America, Fallen River. Wow. America, that's unbelievable. My great-grandmother, his mum, was American. My God. I'm really, really shocked about this. I would never, ever have thought that. I wonder what she was doing in England. How on earth did they meet? How did Annie, who's here, was 22, meet Arthur Shaw to be my great-grandparent? And where is Fallen River? I've never heard of it.
To find out more about her American ancestry, Sharon's travelled to the United States. She's come to Newport, New England, to meet up with genealogist Dr. Stephanie Coury, who's been researching the life of Sharon's great-grandmother, Annie.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hello.
How are you?
Welcome to Newport.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here. So I'm going to tell you what I know about my great-grandmother.
Okay.
Her name was Annie, and she comes from a place called Fallen Rivers.
Actually, it's Fall River. It must have been the registrar wrote down the wrong information.
Okay.
But it's actually called Fall River,
Fall River.
Massachusetts.
And she moved from here to England, and she married an Englishman, and she had 3 sons. And then one of her sons was my grandfather.
So you have deep roots, I think, in Fall River. So this is your great-grandmother, Annie.
Yes.
And here is her birth certificate in Fall River, Massachusetts.
She was born on August 17th, 1868, and her name was Hannah.
Yes.
So Annie nickname, Hannah O'Donnell. Her father's name was Thomas O'Donnell, and her daddy was Irish. Her mother's name was Catherine, and her mother's birthplace was England.
Yes. A father who was Irish and a mother who was English, and they immigrated to Fall River, Massachusetts. So is this surprising to you?
It's all surprising to me. I never thought that I was connected to anyone who actually was American.
So there you go.
Yeah.
You're American too.
Wow.
Sharon has learnt that Annie's father, Sharon's great-great-grandfather Thomas, came to America from Ireland, while her mother, Catherine, came from England. In the middle of the 19th century, crop failures and famines struck Europe, causing death and suffering across many countries. It was particularly bad in Ireland, where around 1 million people died after a failure of the potato crop. And this may have been why Thomas O'Donnell, who had grown up during this period, decided to go to America. Thomas was part of a massive European migration to the United States. But Sharon wants to know why Thomas and her great-great-grandmother Catherine chose to live in Fall River.
There's a travel guide that's called the Tainter's Guide that you could read to learn about the glorious qualities of the communities which you were traveling to, including Fall River, Massachusetts. So this was enticing people to come to Fall River.
Its streets are handsomely adorned
They were.
with shade trees, adding much to the comfort and beauty of the place. It says that Fall River contains many elegant residences.
Still does.
And the sunset views
Yes.
from here are said to rival those in Italy. If I read this, I would come. The way it was written about the sunsets and the trees and the beautiful rivers, it's like, oh, it must have been like, you know, heaven.
Right.
I can see people just, you know, closing their eyes and imagining what it would be like.
With anticipation.
Yeah. It says this important manufacturing city.
It was a major manufacturing center because of location, because of temperature.
And a lot of people that wanted work.
Yes.
The principal manufacturers are for cotton, wool, prints, iron, and the making of various kinds of machinery.
It was the largest cotton textile manufacturing center in the whole United States, second only to Manchester, England in the world. Yeah. At the height of Fall River's mill industry, there were 2,000 miles of cotton cloth produced a day.
Wow.
In the 1860s, the American Industrial Revolution was in full swing. Textile mills were using modern production methods, and the United States was rapidly transforming from an agricultural to a manufacturing economy. Sharon's great-great-grandparents, Thomas and Catherine, were both hoping to benefit from this economic boom in Fall River.
Now I have the marriage record of Annie's parents.
Thomas O'Donnell, colour white, age 24. His first marriage. The bride, Catherine Dowd, white, 22, her first marriage. Birthplace, England. And they were married by James Murphy, Catholic priest.
Yes.
In December 1867.
And the parish is St. Mary's Parish, which is located in Corky Row, which is a neighborhood where predominantly Irish people live.
Yeah.
And that's where the church is.
It's still there?
Yes. Oh,
That's
yes.
great. I would love to see where they were married.
Sharon is on her way out of affluent Newport, heading for Fall River, just 20 miles away.
It is nice to know my heritage, because I had no idea before, nothing. And it's nice to come, too, from people that fight for a better way of life and that are brave enough to get on a boat and go to the unknown land. And I really admire that. I think it's great strength of character. Pioneers, you know, I love that. And Fall River, I'm really interested. It sounds beautiful with the Italian-like sunsets and trees everywhere. I'm really looking forward to going.
In the 19th century, Fall River grew from a collection of villages to become one of the most important cities in New England. Today, there are still many relics of its industrial past. St. Mary's Cathedral, where Sharon's great-great-grandparents Thomas and Catherine were married, was built in the 1850s in response to the growing number of Catholics coming to work in the city.
Incredible. That's so unbelievable that I would be here walking down the same aisle as my great-great-grandparents did. That's incredible. Oh. 4 o'clock. That's nice. I'd love some of those candles with the crosses on. Ozzy would love them. Look, fabulous. Gosh, they must have felt so special getting married here, because it's so beautiful.
Sharon is looking at the records kept by St. Mary's Cathedral.
This is the baptismal records, started in 1861.
She's been given printed copies of the certificates to see what else she can learn about her family.
So this is the birth certificate of Hannah, Annie O'Donnell, my great-grandmother, born 17th of August in 1868. Then we have April 19, 1870, Margaret O'Donnell. Oh, her sister. She had a Baba sister. Oh. All right, what do we have here? April 21, 1871, Mary O'Donnell. So they had another little girl. October the 3rd, 1872. Oh, Lord. One after the other. John O'Donnell. There's more. April 1874. Elizabeth O'Donnell. Oh, at least she had a 2-year gap. Okay. April 1875. Thomas O'Donnell. God, 6 kids. Can you imagine how hard that must have been? Whoa. They must have been in and out of this church baptizing the kids every year. Another one and another one. You know, I knew people had big families in those days, but, wow.
To find out more about Thomas and Catherine O'Donnell's life here, Sharon is visiting the Fall River Historical Society. It's based in a former mill owner's house. She's meeting historian Dr. Maura Doherty.
So I have something for you here.
And this is the city of Fall River, Massachusetts, 1877.
Yes. At this point, there's 45,000 people living there. It was a small town that grew very fast. In 1 year, in 1872, 6,000 people came.
Wow.
So it's growing rapidly and a bit chaotically, although we can see the mills are well laid out.
Yeah. So many mills all around. All of this here and leading all the way up to there, and around here it's all industrial mills.
Yes.
It's unbelievable. I saw yesterday a pamphlet on Fall River, and it was saying how the sunsets are really equal to what you see in Italy. And it's like where everything is just factories and industry, and that's it. Just an industrial town, basically, Fall River.
That's right. They're burning coal, and I'm not sure how much of the sunset one would have seen.
Because even in the map, you look at it and you see all the steam coming out of all the factories. So all of that pamphlet was just a terrible enticement to get these people here. With all of this industry going on, there must have been a constant cloud over here. Must have been a terrible place to live.
You can see right here, this is one of the first mills built, the Troy Mill in 1813. You have some ancestors who worked in this mill.
In
This one right there.
So it would have been my great-great-grandmother and grandfather.
Yes. So this is where Catherine and Thomas worked.
Oh, Troy Mill, one of the oldest in the city, Fall River, Massachusetts.
And here I have the accounting books for the Troy Mill. If you want to take a look at this page here.
Here, an O'Donnell.
They called her Kate.
Kate, yeah.
Yeah. If we look here, that's how much she made for the month.
$17.
And 4 cents.
4 cents.
And if we look here, your great-great-grandfather.
Thomas O'Donnell.
Yes. And we can see here what he earned for the month.
$34.50.
Even in those days, this is low pay.
Yeah.
Fall River was known for being one of the lowest paid.
Wow. And so what did my great-great-grandmother do?
She's working in the carding room, where the raw cotton comes into the process, and gets combed so that the fibers are all going in one direction in order to be able to spin it later.
Carding was a vital part of the production in cotton mills. Men, women and children operated large rolling machines, which disentangled and cleaned the raw cotton in preparation for spinning.
The carding room was considered actually one of the worst to work in the mill. There's more cotton fibers in the air. It would have been all over the hair, all over the clothes every day. Then you're breathing these fibers in.
What an awful job. And if there was fibers everywhere, they must have gotten sick. They must have got bad chests and coughs and everything from inhaling that all the time.
People also got something we call brown lung, or byssinosis is its technical term, and it's just a cotton disease of just infecting your lungs over and over.
What a terrible place to come to when you've got dreams and you leave one country because it's so terribly hard there, and you think you're going to go to a better place, and you get here and it's just so bad. Did you have many women working in the mills in those days?
Yes. There were a lot of women in America who worked, and in Fall River we see a lot of women and children are working. It's really a family system here.
Wow.
Families made up a big part of the workforce in Fall River. Some of the children working there were as young as 6 years old. This was in contrast to the cotton mills in England, where there were child labour acts restricting working hours and raising the age of employment to 9.
The mill workers, were they given homes or not?
Well, that's an interesting question. If we see here, we have one column that is for rent. The Troy Mill required that its workers live in the housing owned by the Troy Mill, with each apartment being about 18 square meters. So that's smaller than an average hotel room.
Sure. And they had 6 kids at the end of the day, living like that.
So whole families and rows of this. And the first thing that one would have noticed walking into one of these tenements would have been the stench.
Yeah.
They were filthy. They took very little care to build this housing because the city was growing so rapidly. And they didn't take care for the sanitation, so that bred disease.
Yeah.
A lot of people who came from Ireland and from England came here to Fall River thinking that it was the El Dorado, you know, that the streets would be paved with gold. And they got here and they faced longer hours. They faced harsher working conditions. These machines are running faster than the machines that they had operated before, and yet they're getting paid less money for all of that.
I think I'd have taken the next boat back.
People were asked that in the newspapers, and they said, we can't leave, we have no money.
I know that my great-great-grandmother and father had 6 children. How did they survive all of this? No money, breathing in all this bad air, and all they did was work.
It was a tough life.
Yeah. My great-great-grandparents, Thomas and Catherine O'Donnell, I mean, what a place to end up in. What a place. The brochures said that it was a beautiful place to be, and they come over here, they give up their lives, they give up their families and come to another land for a better life. And they get here, and it's just a hellhole, horrible existence for young people that were enticed and then trapped, basically. They had 6 children, one after the other, and she was working pregnant. It's just unbelievably hard. It's just unthinkable. Complete nightmare.
Sharon knows that her great-grandmother Annie left America and ended up in England. But what happened to Annie's younger siblings? Margaret, Mary, Elizabeth, Thomas, and John. Maura has been looking into this for Sharon.
I have some more records. Here.
City of Fall River, it's a certificate of death. So Margaret O'Donnell died on June 19th, 1870. Cause of death, convulsions. Oh, my God. 2 months. She didn't even last longer than that.
And I have this.
Another record of death. Mary O'Donnell, age 2 months. Cholera.
Cholera infantum.
What does that mean?
It's a term used for babies usually when they die with diarrhea.
Oh, my Lord. To lose 2 babies in a year. Hideous.
I have another document.
Oh, Lord, another record of death. Elizabeth A. O'Donnell. Oh, my God. So 3 years later, my great-great-grandmother loses another little girl. And she lost her at 6 days, and she died of weakness. Don't tell me another one. Oh, my Lord. July 6, 1875, and this was for Thomas O'Donnell. Oh, and he was 3 months and 29 days old. Again, weakness. They're living in Olms House. What is that?
That was a poorhouse.
A poorhouse. Oh, my God.
Similar to a workhouse, you know, in England.
Here we go again. And this is for John O'Donnell. And, oh, Lord. So she lost her Thomas on July 6. And then July 26, she lost John. The same year. And he died at 2 years old, consumption. Oh, my Lord.
Consumption was the name used for tuberculosis in the 19th century. It came from the idea that the body was being consumed as the sufferer wasted away. And when Sharon's great-grandmother Annie's brothers and sisters died, tuberculosis was the leading cause of death in the United States.
Certificate of death, and it was for Catherine O'Donnell. She was 35 years old, and she died March 3rd, 1880. Consumption. My Lord. What a life, huh? Lost 5 of her babies and worked to death. It's just unbelievable. 35 is no age, that poor little thing. And those little babies. Can you imagine how heartbroken she must have been? Do we know what happened to her husband?
Shortly after her death, he and Annie went back to England and settled.
Wow. So we now know why Annie went to England.
It does suggest to me that she had a better start than the others. The mother wasn't ill, that she had enough nutrition at the beginning, and probably saw a lot of luck, but that she made it.
Yeah,
you know,
she made it.
And the others didn't.
Yeah, they were just, you know, people just wanting a better way of life, that's all. They were like pioneers, you know, going off to a new world, and then they come here and it's worse than what they left. Terrible.
Maura has left Sharon with one final memento.
Wow.
A photograph of her great-grandmother, Annie.
The struggles that this young woman must have gone through just to, you know, stay alive is incredible. She was at an age where she could remember her mother dying in a workhouse and her brothers and sisters dying. God, what she's experienced, what she had experienced in her life, and then I just hope she found some happiness when she went back to the north of England, and she obviously married and had 3 children, and one of those children was my grandfather. But all these women in the family suffered, all of them. My great-grandmother, my grandmother, my great-great-grandmother suffered terribly, but they didn't give up. And I don't really. I must have inherited that from Annie. I never thought for 1 minute that I would have had an American great-grandmother when we started this whole thing. And I'm proud that my family came from nothing. Just trying to get some dignity in their lives, just trying to just get by. Yeah, that makes me proud.